How do you spot a wing that's been put on backwards, upside down, or is only slowing you down by adding drag? Let's get into it. So I'm here with Cal from Race Car Wings, and this is his incredible 350Z race car, which he competes in. And he's done a lot of work on the Aero of this car, but his company, Race Car Wings, specializes in Aero for cars just like this. So, Callum, how long have you been running the company?
Since 2018, I built my first wing, and it's just grown from there over the years.
Yep. Is this one of your wings?
Yeah, this is the medium wing. There's two smaller, two bigger. So yeah, this is just right in the middle of the range, this one.
But also, you've got something else underneath here, which is a spoiler.
Yeah, this is a wing because it's a dual-sided aerodynamic device. Air goes under and over. This is a spoiler. It spoils the airflow over another surface. So it is spoiling the airflow that would have initially come down this rear edge of the boot lid and created lift. The next size down wing from this, the road race wing, at 100 mile an hour does over 100 kilos of downforce, I believe. Although that's dependent on width and what car is in front of it, you know, how aerodynamic that is. So with this, I would guess 125, 130 kilos at 100 mile an hour.
So one of the things I noticed about the shape of this wing is it actually sticks up at the front slightly and then goes down and back up again. Most people, if they're fitting a wing to their car, they're expecting the front to be sort of angled down, with it being much more aggressive at the back. What's the rationale for this particular shape of the wing?
So this wing is a benzing profile, originally created by a man called Enrico Benzing, who was a Ferrari aerodynamicist. He created a book of wings specifically for car speeds. Now, previously, most wings were knacker profiles, which were for jet fighters, essentially, doing 700 miles an hour in, thin air. He created a number of wings for cars to work at car speeds from sort of 50 mile an hour plus. So they are more curved. They have a more bluff front edge, which allows for less acceleration of the air at the front edge, for the air to stay attached at lower speeds, at higher angles. This is currently set at the minimum angle, so it does dip down slightly at the back, but this is the correct point for the maximum lift drag ratio of this wing.
And this bit here is called a Gurney flap, right?
Yeah.
What role does that play in the process of the aerodynamics on the wing?
They create a turbulent air behind the wing from the top edge, which then helps pull more air from the underside and helps keep the flow attached on the underside.
Because what you want is low pressure on the bottom, high pressure on the top, right?
Yeah, and the more energy under the wing, the more angle you can run and it stay attached. If you get separation, then the wing essentially stops creating any more downforce.
And it just starts adding drag.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's one of the things, I think, it's a trade-off, isn't it? It's a trade-off between the downforce you get from the wing and the drag that it introduces. A more aggressive angle of attack would increase the drag, but you do that if it gives you more downforce that you need in tighter corners and the like, yeah?
It's a complex balancing act. At Blyton Park, I ran this car with no wing, and then I ran it with the biggest wing I do, just to see what would happen a few years ago. And actually, at the end of the straight, with the wing, it was about 3 mile an hour faster because we were coming off the corner 11 mile an hour faster. The actual time from the beginning to the end of the straight was a lot faster.
And the height of the wing matters too, doesn't it?
Yeah, that again is a trade-off mainly between regulations and what you'd ideally want. Ideally, you'd want it to look like a top fuel dragster with the wing somewhere over there.
Yeah.
But MUK regulations, there's a blanket regulation apart from time attack where the highest point of the wing must be lower than the highest point of the roof.
Right.
So this is just sitting below, this corner is just below the highest point of the roof.
Yes, so just within the limits of the regulations.
Yeah, and also in terms of rearward projection, I think it's 150 millimetre behind the furthest rearward point of the car.
Right.
So, and then there's other considerations that I explained to customers, that if you have it sticking out miles in the back, you will probably walk into it at some point and hurt yourself.
Yeah, that's a pretty sharp corner right there.
Yeah.
Now, just before we started recording this episode, we were talking about some of the wings that we've seen on your typical show cars, shall we say. And we've both agreed that we've seen a few things that, well, they just don't make any sense. We talked about wings that are upside down.
Yeah.
Wings that are facing the wrong way.
Yeah.
And let's just talk a little bit about the kinds of things we normally see when people put wings on the car for looks. There was one that I saw, I remember that they had put it on backwards because it went forward like that, but you could actually tell that the wing was actually meant to be forward on the sides and further back at the rear. And you could tell partly from the shape. Like, what kind of effect is that having on the aero of the car?
I mean, if the wing's on backwards, it might work, but
not very well.
Nobody's ever tried it, I don't think. But I think some people look at it and think the pointy end goes first.
Yeah.
Is a natural thing, and some other people look at it and think the hump, it must be on the top because it needs to be pushed down.
Yeah, yeah.
Which, you know, if you don't know anything about wings, logic might lead you to think that that is how they work. You can't blame people for just going with what they know. Probably the biggest mistake I see is people running masses of angle, and that will make downforce just because of Newtonian physics. If it's up in the air, the air will hit it and push the car down, but it won't be operating like a proper wing.
Yeah.
So
it might be adding more drag than it's compensating for with downforce.
Once you reach a certain angle, it will create no more downforce, but it will just create more and more drag. The other thing I've seen a lot is more mount than wing. You see a lot of cars that look like they've got a crane from a building site attached to the back and then a tiny wing.
Right.
This is a huge wing and it's only got 2 small poles on the back of it, and that's enough to hold it upright and stable. A 6mm piece of aluminium plate will hold most wings up. With aluminium, particularly if you use them on road cars, you need to be aware of fatigue because it will crack eventually. So a steel tube mount is possibly better on a road car doing a lot of miles. And yeah, stopping side to side flex, that's your biggest issue.
That's a really good point, because obviously as the car's, say, going round a corner, you've got the weight of the wing itself pulling it that way. You've got even, you know, air pushing it on the sides as you're going round a bend as well, right? So I guess you have to think about both the lateral as well as the...
Yeah, your lateral movement is going to be usually more of an issue than your vertical support. I mean, this one's fairly stiff, but a small amount of rock will be fine.
Yeah. But
the worst case is when you get into the natural frequency of the wing and it will just start shaking itself to pieces.
Yeah. Now this wing is for the track, as I understand. This wouldn't be road legal, would it?
The end plates wouldn't be road legal, definitely. Right. But I can supply carbon fibre end plates, you know, with a curved edge.
Yeah. Oh, it's the radiuses is the issue, right?
Yeah, it's these corners and these which don't really make it road legal, or just thicker aluminium. I think it's a 3mm radius, so just a slightly thicker plate in carbon or aluminium and remove the sharp edges.
Also because the wing is inside the boundaries of the car, which as I understand it is quite crucial for road legal.
Yeah, and the wings are built to spec. There's no standard span, as we call it. So you can have any span you want to fit within your car, and you can have the mount space wherever you want for your car. It's not a standard off-the-shelf product.
It's one thing having lots of downforce at the rear, but that can actually ruin your grip at the front if you don't balance it out, right?
Yeah, you can end up with a very understeery car. Suspension work can help with that.
Yep.
You can stiffen the rear and give your front end an easier time, particularly on the anti-roll bar to help. But yeah, it's good to have some front end balancing items as well.
Let's take a look at the front of the car. Right, so down at the front here we've got double edged cannards and we've got an end plate, a splitter, but that is just where the front aero begins.
So you've got an undertray as well. It's completely under the engine all the way to the back and joins with the diffuser as well. So it's a full system.
People see cannards on the front. On a lot of cannards you'd see kind of them more around to the side, but these are at the front. So is that helping to channel air that's hitting the front of the car and moving around this bodywork?
The Nissan's got a very bluff front end, so you're kind of locked in with your cannards. The main issue is the MUK regulations that they can only stick out around 100mm from the bodywork. This is a 90mm splitter to be within regulation. If you look from above, within the line of the splitter as well. And they are, yes, like you say, just to channel air that's getting caught on the front up and create some downforce that way. So this is an MUK legal splitter. You've got an air dam which extends from the standard Nissan bumper down just below where it was originally. This creates downforce because the high pressure air that hits the air dam gets stuck as it's trying to go under the car and pushes down on the splitter, which gives you your first piece of downforce. It's a powerful item. The end plates on the end of the splitter just help trap more air onto the splitter. So you've just got pressure pushing down constantly. But then once the air goes underneath, you can just run with the splitter and that'll be fine. But then if you've got an under tray, the air goes underneath, it's moving fast under the under tray, straight down the middle of the car. The diffuser is the third piece of the system. You've got the inlet, the centre section, and then the diffuser at the back. And the diffuser, as it increases in size, pulls more air from the front of the car. So the diffuser at the back is helping pull the air from here under the car as fast as possible.
Right. In order to keep the air under the car as low pressure as possible. Yeah. So that sucks the car down onto the road, essentially.
Yeah.
Is it the splitter, under tray and diffuser combined is generating the most downforce, or would you say it's balanced between that and your wing and spoiler at the back?
I'd say first item would be to fit a splitter.
Yeah.
That will give you the easiest downforce. Then moving the under tray further back will give you more area where the fast moving air can act on. There's no point in having a diffuser if you've got nothing in front of it, because that's the last piece of the system, but there's nothing to feed it. So start at the front and work your way back. That's the best thing to do on this.
I've seen lots of people fit diffusers at the back and it's just got no splitter at the front and it's just got loads of mechanical bits and exhaust underneath. There's no channeling or control of the air.
The one thing a diffuser on its own will do, it will stop the rear bumper becoming a parachute. So quite often you will get a small benefit from drag and, a little benefit from not, but that's mainly just making the underside smooth. So when I first drove this car in anger, it was on a very wet and dirty Blyton Park. And when I came in, you could see from the streamlines that there was a lot of air running over the top of the standard Nissan arch, which is wide and a nice curve, all the way down the side, which is creating lift. So the point of these is to flat top the wings, which is something you see a lot on Caterhams and Westfields and that type of car. Even LMP cars will have flat tops now because the curve of the wheel arch
is adding lift.
Yeah. So this is basically just to flat top that off.
So your lift isn't robbing you of downforce in the process.
Yeah.
This has got like an end plate along the edge of it as well. Is that manufacture or is that for aero reasons?
Partly manufacture, and also I like to think that it stops the air just spilling off the side as well and keep the air channeled along the front, along the side of the car.
That makes sense. And you've also got some cooling here. Well, not cooling. You've got a vent here to relieve pressure from the wheel arch.
Yeah,
right?
it just helps let some hot air out from under the arch.
Yeah,
it's
keeps your brakes cool.
I think that might be one of the few areas where I've gone for style over actual function.
Fair enough. And of course, big wing mirrors, not big wings, but big wing mirrors, they just add drag. So these are some very, very low profile mirrors. Can you actually see anything out of those?
Not really. That's
just enough. There's a car there, but...
That's an F3 mirror, but coming soon, race car wing mirrors, my new product.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to that. Right, there's one last piece of the puzzle, and that's the diffuser. Tell us more about how this works.
So it starts just in front of the rear wheels. And it's just a very smooth curve coming up from the floor into this low angle. I think about 7 degrees has been found to be the optimum for a diffuser of a car like this, and it just helps pull more air from the underside of the car. And also, as I said, it stops your rear bumper becoming a parachute as well, which is an added benefit of it.
Yep, because this is running all the way under the bumper so that the air can't get caught in the bumper. It's being channeled only out through under here. Nothing's going over the top of it.
Yeah.
Very interesting. And I see that you've got a little bracing here, belts and braces.
I'm not sure that's necessary anymore. But again, that might be my poor style choice. This is a simple diffuser. It's a flat plate with some flat sides. Because you're creating a void, it stops air from the side filling the void.
Yeah.
So it's literally just an end fence. A slightly battered end fence now.
Right, so we've covered wings, spoilers, splitters, under trays, diffusers, and a number of other things, and the role that these end plates play. So if you're building a race car or track weapon of any description, then make sure you check out Race Car Wings. What's the best way to get in touch with you?
Instagram at Race Car Wings, or is the easiest, or through my website, racecarwings.co.uk.
Like, subscribe, and make sure you check out the Radiator Arms podcast, because we are at the Radiator Arms Track Club today at Blyton Park. And if you want to hear more about the dates that we're going to have for next year where you can come on track and potentially, if Cal happens to be there, get a passenger ride in his car, then that's where you find out first.